Not everyone is equipped for the trip you're on. Some individuals remain trapped, caught in their own routines, unable to recognize the power standing just in front of them. But you were never intended to remain in the background, waiting for others to realize your significance. You were always the main attraction, the storm that changes the tides, the uncontrollable flames. They underestimated you because they didn't understand the extent of your strength. They assumed they had time. They thought they were in charge. They thought they could walk away and return anytime they wanted. But what they didn't comprehend, and what they never expected, was that you were never simply another choice. You were the reward, once in a lifetime, the moment they will never return. They are now left to watch you rise and move into all you are meant to be. Watching as the person they once took for granted becomes untouchable. Watching as the person they disregarded evolves into something unstoppable. They wanted to think you were always there, waiting in the wings. But time revealed a different tale, and now all they can do is lament. Because a father honors his word, and fate has always kept an eye on you. The chosen one does not beg, does not wait, does not look back. The chosen one creates, ascends, and claims what was always intended to be theirs. And that is just what you are doing. They confused generosity for weakness, thinking patience was an infinite resource. Every warning was disregarded, every second opportunity wasted. Assurances of fidelity were regarded as insignificant. Your presence was taken for granted. They experimented with trusting the boundaries, sure that no matter how far they pushed, you'd always be there to bridge the gap. When they pulled away, they anticipated to be pursued. When they became quiet, they expected you to break the silence first. They limited their attention to keep you tied, but never enough to make you feel safe. They had control over the cycle until they lost it. If your heart is overflowing with God's blessings, let that love radiate. Click the super thank you button and donate $20 or more to sow seeds of faith that will save countless lives. Your giving exemplifies His richness. Be a channel for His grace and watch His kingdom grow through you. But suddenly the pattern broke. The time came when the weight of waiting became overwhelming and insight hit like a bolt of lightning. The illusion broke apart. You no longer believed in empty promises or never-ending delays. The reality was naked. This wasn't love, but a test. You were never supposed to die. Rather than diminishing, you ascended. Instead of begging, you've redeemed yourself. They didn't notice at first, mistaking your stillness for uncertainty and your quiet for plan. But as time passed, it became apparent. You were not playing a game. You were leaving the field totally. Panic replaced arrogance as they watched the drama develop from the sidelines. Their assurance faded, replaced by bewilderment and an unnerving emptiness. They looked for traces of their prior impact, indicators that they were still relevant. But each mirror revealed a version of you that they no longer recognized. One who has gone on, unfettered and unreachable, with the cruelest twist. This demise was completely their own doing. There was no major betrayal or dishonesty on your behalf, just the natural outcome of their own conduct. They constructed a house of cards, and the wind eventually came. At first, they clung to denial and the illusion of control. They told themselves that it was just temporary, that the door was still slightly ajar, and that they might return whenever they wanted. But then it dawned on me. There were no doors left to knock on. Echoes of previous blunders filled the places they formerly inhabited, reminders of all the times they left you hanging. They felt they had limitless opportunities. But the moment they thought inconceivable had come. They are now left with nothing but memories of what once was and will never be again. Because everything is hidden is intended to be revealed, and whatever is concealed is meant to be brought out into the open. Mark 422. Every tale has a moment when the truth emerges, when the mask is removed, and those who believe they had complete control discover they never did. Like the stupid guy who built his home on sand. They stood tall, arrogant, and confident until the storm arrived. And as the winds blew and the waves crashed, they learned the hard way. What is not constructed on strong foundations will disintegrate. You have a storm, and they misjudged your might. They never anticipated you to rise, rebuild, and shine in ways they can no longer achieve. They believed your quiet constituted surrender. However, quiet does not indicate weakness. It is power, and now it surrounds them, a constant reminder of the presence they formerly ignored. They sit with the weight of their decisions, restless, unsettled. They pause before reaching out, fingers lingering over their screens, writing words they know will never be replied. They type, they delete, they rewrite, but deep inside, they understand. Some bridges, once burnt, are not rebuilt. Their previous level of access has been removed. They assumed they could go unscathed. That time would work in their advantage. But time has a way of revealing everything. And now they're looking into the vacuum they made. They look for what they've lost, seeking to restore it or reproduce what previously existed. But they lost more than just a connection. It wasn't simply a minute. It was a favor. It was grace. It was a chance that would never come again. They believed they had the upper hand. They persuaded themselves that they had complete power and could leave and return whenever they wanted. They took advantage of your patience, misinterpreted your compassion for reliance, and oh, how alluring that illusion was. They imagined you stranded, fixed in place, your heart filled with memories and unresolved questions. They saw you pacing, reflecting, and wondering what went wrong. However, they were unaware that when the chosen one stands up, they do not just walk. They rise. And as you advance, they grow smaller. They are now hiding in the corners of your life, looking for evidence that you still care. I still sense their absence. I still wish for their return. But every look at your life is a revelation they can't undo. You've moved into something larger. You have become something they can never touch again. It doesn't matter how hard they try to ignore it or what they tell themselves. The truth lingers. You're here for a purpose. If you feel called, answer it. Click. Join to get access to rare information, in-depth insights, and a strong community. This is not just a membership. It is an awakening. Step into your divine mission. Join the chosen. They gambled with something holy. They experimented with something heavenly, and now they must face the reality they made. They may refresh their displays, browse through their history, and relive the experiences they once took for granted. However, they will never be able to reverse what has already been accomplished. They believed they could replace you, reproduce what you provided them. They assumed they could proceed without more consideration. However, certain losses do not heal, and some gaps cannot be replaced. The biggest sorrow isn't just that they lost you. It's realizing they've lost the finest thing they never completely understood. Because favor does not follow just anybody. Anointing is not transferable. When God's hand is on you, there is no substitute, no second opportunity, and no replay of what happened. The time is gone. The doors are closed. And now they're just watching. The one thing they never expected to happen. Are you moving on? Never looking back and remaining strong on the promise that was always yours. They wanted you to disintegrate, to drown in remorse, to be the one left looking for closure. But destiny has a wicked way of changing the script. Now they are being kept hostage by the weight of their decisions, watching as you succeed beyond their greatest aspirations. Each passing instant serves as a reminder of the access they lost and the power they never had. The truth is a harsh medicine. The power they formerly had over you was an illusion, a gift you deliberately gave up, but you recovered it. And now they stand impotent, haunted by the realization that they no longer matter in your world. Two individuals linger in the darkness, plagued by memories of what they've lost. They misjudged your strength. I mistook your warmth for permanency, convinced them you were a rotating door. They had complete freedom to pass through. They are now responsible for analyzing their mistakes. Suffocating under the weight of what may have been, one demands power, rages against the loss of control, and refuses to recognize that their grip on you is gone. It never was about love. It was about power. The realization that they can no longer influence your emotions leads them into a downward spiral. They crave for the days when a mere word or gesture might bring you back into their circle. But that time has passed. and it is eating them alive. They rummage over your life, looking for flaws, looking for confirmation that you're still impacted. They reload your updates, expecting to detect a sense of desire, a symbol of unfinished business. But what they discover is clarity, self-sufficiency, and an undeniable warmth. The second figure was pulled to you not for who you were, but for what you offered. You were a source of comfort, vitality, and affirmation. Now that they've exhausted all other options, they circle around, expecting to suck from you once again. Yet, nothing has changed. Their patterns persist. Their remarks sound empty. Their motives are as self-serving as ever. But they made a grave error. They no longer have access to you. Do not offer dogs anything holy. Don't toss your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may crush them beneath their feet before turning around and tearing you apart. Matthew 7:6. Some folks were not created to bear what you carry. They didn't understand the worth of their possessions while they possessed them. They mistaken favor for luck, access for ownership, and your generosity for something they could take advantage of again. But allow me to tell you something. God does not pour oil where it is not respected. What they neglected to treasure is now gone forever. They assumed you will always be the same, that no matter how many times they moved away, you would remain standing in the same spot, heart open, arms wide, waiting for them to judge if you were worth their attention. They persuaded themselves that they had unlimited time to play their games, that your heart would never alter, and that your patience would never run out. However, time is a refiner, and life has transformed you into someone they no longer have access to. They abandoned a version of you that no longer existed. They are now watching from the outside, trying to figure out how they could have allowed something so rare slide through their fingers. They witnessed the light, the power, and the unmistakable metamorphosis. They reassure themselves that they still have a chance. But the truth is terrible. Their opportunity ended the minute they regarded you as an afterthought. They don't want to return because they adore you. No, they want to return because they realize how far you've gone without them. They want a piece of it. They seek to suck off your progress, feed off your energy, and become attached to your success like a leech that can't live on its own. However, God is not a God of backward mobility. He just moves forwards. And when he shuts a door, no one can open it. They can beg. They may make a plea. They may attempt to remind you of what was. However, none of this alters the fact. You've outgrown them. You have entered a new world, one that they cannot enter. No matter how hard they pull or how many times they attempt to reintroduce themselves into your life, they will never be able to bring you back to the past. They destroyed. That door is shut and sealed. They believed they were making the correct decision as they walked away. They believed they were upgrading. They expected something better. And maybe for a time, they persuaded themselves that was correct. But time has a way of revealing everything. And now they realize what they got in exchange for their allegiance. They may now feel the weight of what they tossed away. They see the emptiness of their options. They learn that what they believed was an improvement was really a delusion. And now comes the true anguish for them. They understand they can't go back. They understand that the spot you had reserved for them in your heart is no longer unoccupied. They understand that what they previously had is irretrievable. And while others are caught up in the cycle of their own errors, you have been set free while they are pursuing ghosts. You're creating a future so brilliant that it blinds them. So let them regret it. Allow them to bear the consequences of their own actions. Because of you, you have no business looking back. Your mission is ahead of you. Your benefits are ahead of you. And the love that was always intended for you. The love that will never need persuading. Never doubt your value. Never be forced to show why you deserve to be picked. That love awaits you. You simply need to keep walking. They persuaded themselves that they were doing the proper decision. They were trading up, getting into something bigger. Maybe they flaunted it. They paraded their selections like prizes. They were eager to show off what they believed to be an advance. They thought they'd won. The walkaway was easy. But now they're imprisoned in a world they never expected. They chose instability. Chaos is disguised as enthusiasm. There is no end to friction, mistaken for passion. They believed they had unlocked something greater. Instead, they have entered a cycle of stress, weariness, and regret. They disregarded the warning indications, confident that the dysfunction was just a temporary setback. But deep down, they realized they're trading something uncommon for something transitory. Now the parallels haunt them. Every peaceful moment is a reminder. Every disagreement reflects the lack of what they previously had. They recall the security, the way you stood by them, and how you made them feel understood without having to explain. They attempt to repress it, to shrug off the weight of nostalgia, but it stays like an indelible shadow. And the one they selected, they feel it as well. The uneasiness, the hesitation, the whispered name hung in the quiet. They notice the change in focus as old memories crawl into the gaps between them. Insecurity creates stress. Desperation breeds control. The foundation breaks with the weight of knowing they will never measure up. But none of this matters anymore. The decision had been made. They decided their own destiny. They wager against something genuine and lost themselves in something empty. What once seemed like liberation now seems like a prison. They are left looking at the boundaries of a world they created with their own hands. They assumed they could find another version of you, that you were disposable. But now they realize you're never simply an option, never anything that could be duplicated. And now they must live with the knowing that they have lost something they will never be able to regain. You are the light of the planet. A city located on a hill cannot be concealed. Matthew 514. Some folks were not designed to fit in. They were never supposed to be silent, never intended to dampen their brightness, never intended to shrink, so others might feel at ease. They walk, move, and think differently because they were called to something better. You know precisely who you are. Perhaps you have felt it since you were a child. Perhaps you felt it when the world ordered you to obey the rules. Yet something inside you whispered, "These regulations were never intended for me." They said you should wait. It's your chance to play tiny and blend in. They expected you to seek permission, to follow their script, to continue along previously traveled roads. But you were never designed for that. You were not created to be ordinary. You were meant to stand out and lead. Shake the earth under your feet. You do not move like the others because you were picked. You weren't supposed to play it safe. You were not supposed to remain where you were comfortable. You were supposed to smash down obstacles in order to go through doors. Nobody other ventured to open or construct routes. Nobody else had the ability to see. You are the flames in the cold, the storm that reshapes the terrain, the power that alters reality, rather of being influenced by it. Because of this, they've attempted to break you. They've put you to the test, doubted you, and attempted to box you in. They have talked behind your back, calling you arrogant and strange. You were called too many times. But what they don't realize is that individuals like you were never intended to be comprehended by the crowd. The world has always dreaded what it can't control. And you are uncontrolled. You do not seek validation. You don't pursue acceptance. You don't ask for permission to exist while the others go in circles. You define your own path, even if this means walking alone. You don't need applause. You do not require permission. You do not need them to get it. The delusion belonged to them, not you. They felt they controlled the story, that they could manipulate it to keep you trapped in a loop of doubt and uncertainty. Their strategy was planned, drawing you in just to push you away, providing little moments of comfort before abandoning you in the cold. They sought control, to make you doubt your own power. I wanted you to cling to their brief attention like it was the oxygen you breathe. But what they didn't anticipate, what they couldn't anticipate was the instant you saw through it. The instant you noticed the pattern, the curtain is removed. Their whole act failed. They expected you to remain immersed in the commotion, but you walked out of it. They believed you were always within reach. But now their grip is empty. They believed they could walk away unharmed, unburdened, and devoid of consequence, that their deeds would dissipate, and that you would fade into regret as they went ahead undisturbed. But reality is unrelenting. Every falsehood, manipulation, and unsaid truth returns. What they attempted to bury has risen, and they are the ones left wandering, restless, and drowning in the same uncertainty that they previously put upon you. They meant to undermine you, yet they are the ones unraveling. They wanted you to break. Nonetheless, they are the ones broken. They wanted to see how desperate you were for closure. Yet now they are the ones looking for a path back in. And the consequences of their acts are much greater than they could have predicted. But it doesn't matter since, while they planned, you rose as they played their game. You changed the rules while others spent time chasing illusions. You become untouchable, and it is their worst regret. They'll never confess it, but losing you was the turning point they didn't expect. There is no reversing it. No second chances. There is no way to rewind the clock. They created the cage, but they were the ones who entered. And now they are just left with the world they made, the one in which you are no longer within their grasp. They anticipated you to fall and lose yourself in the aftermath of their departure. They believed that going away would leave you yearning for closure. I am trapped in a downward cycle of remorse. Instead, you soared, and what was supposed to break you became the basis for your ascension. The change is evident. Your presence demands attention. Your aura is magnetic, and your success is blossoming in ways they never expected. Every impediment they put in your way has transformed into an open door. Each failure served as a learning opportunity, and suddenly you're walking through doors. They never had the keys. They wanted to see your struggle. Instead, you outgrew every constraint they attempted to impose. And now they're looking, observing from a distance, appearing to be unconcerned while grappling with reality. Your evolution burns them in ways they cannot accept. They can't take their gaze away as they read through snapshots of your life, haunted by the realization. But what they abandoned has become unassailable. While they are stuck in the same cycle of unmet promises and transient diversions, you've gone into a realm they'll never see. You are in agreement, abundant, thriving. What seemed like a loss has turned out to be the greatest win. And the irony, they gave it to you without recognizing it. They encouraged you to doubt yourself, to feel like you were nothing without them. But each wound they left was a lesson. Every minute of agony became gasoline. Every adversity chiseled out the person you are today. You are no longer waiting for validation, no longer bound by their vision, no longer approachable in the manner they formerly thought. And them? They are locked in time, unable to reverse their decisions, living in a cycle that no longer involves you. They felt they could replace you and go on undamaged. But now they realize there is no replacement. The past is sealed. The traditional patterns have crumbled. And the version of you who used to endure less is no longer. The path ahead is yours alone, and it will no longer lead to another lesson filled with false promises. This time, you're not walking into familiar mayhem masquerading as love. This time, you're walking into something bigger, something genuine, and they will not be a part of it. A fresh chapter begins, and this time it is different. The love that enters your life is not based on uncertainty, games, or prolonged waiting. It remains solid, stable, unyielding, and ready. This is not a bond that depletes you. It's one that heals you. It doesn't make you doubt your value. It reinforces it. This is not a series of highs and lows. It's a haven of tranquility where you're seen, respected, and adored unconditionally. There's no need to pursue, analyze confusing messages, or question where you stand. You will not be an afterthought, an alternative, or a convenience. This time, love is at your side, present and constant, bringing you the security that others have failed to deliver. And the distinction is evident. They will not cower in the face of your power. They'll celebrate it. They will not be intimidated by your authority. They'll stand by it, honoring every aspect of you. And when you transition into this new reality, the past will sense the change. They will see that the door they previously left open has been permanently closed. The notion that they could return anytime they wanted has collapsed. The weight of their decisions will sink in, along with the understanding that their time has run out. They never expected you to totally free them. Never thought you'd stroll towards someone who could equal your enthusiasm. You never expected to discover a love that can withstand everything they throw at you. Irrelevant, But now they have to face the reality. You were never supposed to remain in the past, never intended to ask someone to recognize your value, never intended to stay in heartbreak, when wealth was always there for you, because the love you are going into has always been bigger than what you left behind, and now it's yours. The past may observe, but it no longer has a place at your table. Their former chapter has been permanently closed. No more reliving past scars, no more hollow words, and no room for half-hearted love. You've grown above distractions, destructive patterns, and whatever that formerly held you back. Your energy is precious. Your tranquility is valuable, and your opportunities are unlimited. Everything they took for granted would be valued by someone who actually sees you at all times. They paused. Someone else will act with assurance. Every time, they made you feel tiny. Someone else will encourage you. This is the time to completely assert your authority, to embrace love, prosperity, and plenty without fear or reservation. Everything you've been waiting for is now coming together. The only thing left to do is keep going ahead and never, ever lower your light for anybody.